going on, everybody? Choco here, and welcome back to another Choco's World. So today we got ourselves the iron farm lined up for us. I'm going to be trying my best to keep this somewhat condensed so people can follow it as a guide, because the other one was not super condensed. I'm going to go ahead and first clear out some area, though, because I do need to get the area sorted and prepped. For those of you who are wondering during this time, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the material list for what I'm calling the cheap updated Iron Golem farm, with, of course, credit to Nembon, who is, of course, the original creator of the original farm. Please do check out his video if you are curious. Now, about a couple things. I'm going to disregard water buckets because the water buckets are sort of confusing. I think this ends up being fairly accurate in terms of it's not quite 120 buckets that you need, but you are going to need quite a few water buckets. So you're just going to want at least two buckets, and then, or I guess you're going to just need to make sure that you have an infinite water source that's either made or two water buckets so you can make one. And then you can just go ahead and go to town with that. So I'm going to go ahead and ignore water. But other than that, you're looking at something like this for all of your items. Let me go ahead and just kind of scroll through here so you can see through all of here. You have some glass. You're going to need slabs of any kind. The glass also can be substituted with a lot of different stuff. I would recommend glass so you can see what's going on, but this isn't too bad. But slabs will be slabs of any kind should be fine. Glass panes will be something that we're using to kind of help golems fall into the right spot. Powered rails and the rails themselves right here, but these guys are going to be used for the zombie track. Packed ice is going to be used for the movement of items. Any form of gate, any gate at all should be A-okay. You might be able to finagle your way with this, but the only one I'm going to be talking about is the gate, because we're going to be using this to basically create an area where nothing, like the water can't flow and stuff like that, but the golems can still fall through. End rods to help with the trapping unit. I would not recommend messing with this a whole heck of a lot. You can probably do it, but I'd recommend just sticking with what works here. Trapdoors. This used to be the iron trapdoors. I decided to substitute them out with oak trapdoors so you guys can hopefully have something that's a little bit cheaper. Pressure plates. I believe any kind of pressure plate would work here, but stone is the one that I'll be using. Any kind of sign, and these are going to be wall signs if you're curious about their orientation. A work block, so any kind of villager work block would work here. Barrels are going to be what I'm using, because barrels seem to be, from my opinion, probably one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest to make and most reliable to make. So we're going to be working with barrels today. 30 of any colored bed, doesn't really matter what kind of bed this is. Redstone dust, which is going to be used for the redstone, as well as all the other redstone components being used for the either rails or being used for the actual way that the, well, I guess they're all for rails, but the rails and then like the stop points, if that makes sense, like so in front of each villager cell. Some building blocks of any kind that can conduct redstone. This is important that they can conduct redstone, so like glass and glowstone, for example, would not really be workable here. But some kind of solid block usually would work fine here. I'm using stone. You can use something else. I would not recommend using anything that can burn on the off chance. It's really unlikely, but on the off chance that something horrible happens. Redstone comparator, torch, detector rail. Again, these are all going to be used as part of the different areas we're going to have, like the zombies stopping off at each villager cell. 5 lava buckets. You will need 5 different sources of lava, because you're going to have 5 different chambers where iron golems will be dispatched. Levers is part of how you're kind of have everything powered up. Torches to make sure that you got some lighting going on, and a couple of odds and ends and places. I would just bring, have some torches on hand. I don't really think this is a big deal, but I don't honestly even remember where these are at. I think they're in like near the water flows. And then the chest and hopper, you can disregard this and then replace this with whatever system that you want for collecting your items. It's just a reminder here to be like, hey, just remember, don't forget that you're going to go ahead and need to get yourself, you're going to need to pull the items out, right? So we usually do that with a hopper, and then you can do that with whatever. If you want to be fancy and be one of those people that's like, I know how to do minecart with hoppers to make things super efficient and blah, 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 that's fine. I'm going to be using a hopper because it's a little bit less demanding, as well as the fact that even though it takes items in at a slower rate, we're not going at such a high rate that I think it's going to be a massive problem. I don't think it'd ever be a problem, even if we stack the module. So that's all of that. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you in a condensed form, especially with what the important ones are. But if you want to, just refer to this part of the video. I'll keep my mouse over here so you can see. So there you go. And then there's the rest of them down here with stone. And then, of course, I'm going to show you the info HUD so you have a little bit of a better idea. Oop, it's dark. It's dark. But we also have the material list in the bottom right. So if you're curious as to how many stacks a lot of the big ticket items are going to go into, this should give you a pretty good idea of what you need for this whole thing. and hopefully that helps. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get to clearing out a fair bit of ground here, because I do need to go ahead and cut down some trees and stuff like that. This is my first time I'm going to be putting a farm in a spawn chunk. I don't really know how that interacts, if it's like a special interaction with single player or not, but we'll see. I have no clue. But I'm currently planning on putting this thing kind of in an area that we normally traffic a little bit more. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, that's so tragic. They made it for so long. Oh, okay, they're just buddies? Wow, you're decked out, man. How did this even happen? Kudos to you, my dude. He's fancy. Real fancy. He has gold armor and everything. They're enchanted, too. Not cheap. All right, anyways. Sorry, I got distracted. All right, I'll be back with the actual building of it, and hopefully that'll be all good. Okay, we're ready to start building, but before we get into the whole building of the farm, a couple of notes really quick from me. This, of course, is going to be marking the corner of our spawn chunks that are active. The reason why I'm doing this is so I can make it more modular, and I can kind of like expand it side to side, and also up and down doesn't really matter about this, but from side to side, this will make it a little bit easier to work with. So this is the end of the active chunks, and then one more out would be our lazy chunks, and then outside that is not spawn chunks anymore as far as I'm aware. So yeah, that's why I built it here, and hopefully it works. I hope I didn't measure it wrong. I think I did it right, but it should be fairly straightforward. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take it from our Choco's world, which is in hardcore, and I'm going to move it to the prototyping world so I can explain the different parts as we go along, so that way you all can build this, and hopefully it makes a little bit more sense. All right, so we're in the prototyping world where I kind of like test things out and kind of see how they work and mess with different kinds of stuff. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and explain how the farm works from here, because it's a lot easier to see and it's easier to work with. And of course, as I'm building it, if I come across any other things like tips and tricks that I do end up finding as I'm doing it, I'll share them with you. But for right now, let me explain how this works so you all have an idea of like what you need to do and what this will all entail. So anyways, let's go ahead and start off by first going down to the bottom layer here. This is going to be where your iron golems are going to fall into, and then their resulting items are going to be pushed towards our gathering point. So important note here about all this, your gathering point is only going to appear on one corner. It will also be on the corner that does not have anything built in the way. So you can see the villager cells end right there, villager cells end right here, but there's nothing here. The rail doesn't come out to this corner. It just kind of goes in this zigzag all the way diagonally across between the 2 points. This means that if you make this vertically again, you can make that shoot. But anyways, you'll notice that this is kind of from this point, all the water is flowing in this way and that way, right? So if you're coming in from this side, you're going in towards the end point into this direction. And then if you're coming in from that way, you're going this direction. This is also only 3 wide, with the waterway only being 1 wide, and then the little like things on the side just keeping the water in and make sure it doesn't splash all over the place. This is to make sure that since only items are coming in here, that you're just pushing them along. You'll notice that there's packed ice underneath these stone pressure plates. The stone pressure plates are here so the water is flowing in the same direction, right? So you can control how the water is moving. And then on top of that, the packed ice makes sure that there's enough like velocity maintained so they just don't get stuck right there and they can continue onward. So as an example, if I were to take like a bunch of this, I just kind of lopped them down, you'll see that they kind of move happily across. Now, for these larger ones, you might be wondering why this is set up the way it is. The waterways are still doing the exact same thing, except they're also wider to accommodate for any falling iron golems. So the iron golem falls down in here, it's going to get moved along, and then eventually it's going to hit this lava source that's kind of leaking over these signs, and then it's going to get burned to death, and then its drops will fall, and then that set of drops will continue moving to the item collection point. So this is all pretty cool in that if obviously it's pretty low budget. Be aware that you will lose a little bit because of this lava. I don't think it's enough to worry about, but just be aware that, yeah, you might lose a little bit of it. It may not be perfect, but this should work out pretty well for you. Other than that, it's just 5 of these different points because you have 5 different platforms where villager cells are working out, or iron golem platforms are. So you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of these, and they're pretty straightforward. You just kind of make yourself like a nice little rectangle. This is going to make sure that you have enough like velocity, I guess, just screaming out of here. So you're going to go ahead and start off with like 2 things of packed ice, and you're just moving forward. You're going to copy this platform again and again, and then you move them over to the waterway, and then over here you're just going to do that 3 times. Moving upwards, you're going to notice that there's this like really, really wacky looking glass pane. This is to do with the fact that whenever you copy and paste it, it kind of does like a weird thing. But needless to say, it's going to look a little bit more like this, obviously without like that really weird corner. But what you're going to be doing here is you're just helping guide the golem. So if they happen to spawn on the edges, they don't like fling themselves outwards. They're just going to fall very consistently down into the water and then reach the lava. And that's nothing too crazy or too wild. I think you could replace this with something else. I would recommend just going with glass panes because I think number one, it's better so you can see. And I think it's just generally a smart idea in terms of not deviating too far from what the original design is. Now you're going to go into the actual golem platforms. This is literally where the golems will spawn. So you're just making it so this is slabs right here. I believe these are top slabs, right? They're not bottom slabs. So the golems can spawn here. I believe this is strictly just to make sure that it's just cheaper. I don't know why else this would be the case. So I would imagine you can replace these, but I would just go with slabs anyways. But this is just going to go ahead, scoot the golems along so they can fall down. And then you have these fence gates in the middle here to help promote the golems to like, not have the water like splash over too far, so on and so forth. I do not think there is a particular reason why there are these fences like set up in any way. So it just doesn't matter what orientation it is. Just you can go ahead and throw the fences down, whatever's easiest. Just make sure that they're open so things can move freely between them. You're just going to do the same thing 5 times and you're all good to go there. For the upper layer, and this is going to be something where I'm going to break it apart into 2 different sections. There are the villager cells and there's the actual railway. The villager cells basically consist of these different parts. You're going to have 3 different work areas, and it doesn't matter what they are. I use barrels because barrels are cheap, but basically you're going to have yourselves the workstations as kind of like where the villagers are standing on top of, 3 beds shooting out away from the rails, trapdoors towards the rails, and then you're going to set up these end rods in like this like a little funky configuration, right? You're also going to add a trapdoor right above in the center, and this trapdoor is basically there to help make sure the villagers are in control. So you can see here the villagers can't ever quite make it outside of the barrel area. They can't like climb on top of these trapdoors. They can't do anything funny like that because they're kind of stuck because of their height versus the heights of like this height, and then the height of these things make it so they can't move outwards. It also gives them a little bit of light, which makes sure that they don't have any kind of like wacky spawns of zombies and such, which should be pretty good. The villager cell also is going to include a little slab top, which is going to be something that I include here. These are going to be bottom slabs. And the idea is that you don't want anything to spawn up here. You don't want to have to light it up. And in addition to that, if lightning were to strike, this should protect your villagers from turning into witches, which is a pretty cool thing. Unlikely that happens. It's up to you. You can roll the dice here. I just think it's pretty simple for what? This is going to end up being 12 slabs. You got to make sure that your villagers don't turn to witches ever. Seems like a fairly good trade to me. So you're just going to be doing this. Now for each of these pads, right, you're going to have a villager cell associated with each half. So it's going to be 2 per cell. So you're going to have one little batch here, one little batch here, and that's going to make one of these different pads up. And then that's going to spawn up to 2 golems each time a zombie comes by and spooks them out. Now for the rail, it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to be, the idea is that the zombie in a minecart's going around here. If you can, I would strongly recommend, if it's like not a big deal, that you use a husk. The reason why I recommend a husk is because a husk does not burn in sunlight. They can stay in there forever and ever and ever. And it means you don't have to make this little top here, which is blocking out the sun. Because obviously a zombie will burn to death whenever it's riding around the minecart if it's a regular zombie. If it has a helmet, the helmet will eventually degrade and break, and then the zombie will die. So don't be like, oh, well, it has a helmet, it's fine. It will eventually get burned up by the sun. Husks, of course, if you do have one, you can go ahead and omit this part that's covering them, that's blocking the sun from burning the zombie alive. Now, additional note, whenever it comes to these little stopping pads, please be mindful that what you're trying to do here is you're trying to mimic this whole thing, where everything else is like pretty straightforward, like you have levers every now and then to power the powered rails, so on and so forth. But whenever it comes to this, just be mindful that you do want to make sure that these are redstone conducting blocks, because this will ensure that these stopping points, whenever the zombies are going up, that they go ahead and disable it so they kind of linger here for a little bit longer, and then they move on with their business. Because what's going to end up happening is that the cart will actually move forward. Let me see if I can get an example here. So if I were to push this minecart, oh, that went the wrong way. No! So the minecart's going to go along. It's going to hit that detector rail. It's going to stop it, which is going to give it just enough time to kind of spook them out. and it's going to move along its way. It's very important that you do this. In addition to that, you do want your minecart to be traveling in the way that, so you want it to go from the long side to the short side, right? So what I mean by that is you can see here, I'm going to look at the side that has 3 of them, and then I'm going to want my minecart to move from here opposite. Now, the direction is important. If you, for whatever reason, screw this up, it's not actually the end of the world. I think it will eventually correct itself, but it is something that I want you to be aware of because this can cause some confusion. Other than that, I think this is pretty much all that we have to note about this. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that this little additional explanation, I do want this to be a supplement. It's not like full-on tutorial that's going to be like, do this, because Nembon already does a pretty good job of like giving you the world download, giving you all the tools you need to make this whole thing. I have no idea why this is here. Why are you here? I don't think you're supposed to be here. I want to get rid of you. But yeah, I think that you can just go ahead and if you have like Lightmatica, just go ahead and use that with Nembon's world download and just follow his guide. It's a pretty straightforward and efficient guide here. But hopefully this does make some sense because this should be pretty easy for you guys to follow along with as well. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start trying to put this together in my hardcore world. And if I come across any other things that I want to note, I'll let you know. Oh, actually, wait, hold on. There is one more thing I want to note. Whenever it comes to moving the villagers here, I would strongly recommend that you go ahead and try to move them. Number one, move them during the day, please, because that's going to make your life so much nicer. But you move your villagers before you put the zombie in here. The reason why I say that is because if you put your villagers, you can kind of do like weird debates with them where you can like move them with a minecart up here and then you can just open up this trap door and you can have them follow the minecart or something down here and then break the minecart, which is what I did in H6M. You can also just kind of like, just as an example of this, you can kind of do some like really cheapskate things for lack of a better way to put it. But you can do like things like this where I'm just going to say like, hey, I'm going to leave, let's say I managed to get my villager, however I get my villager up to like water stream, whatever the case may be. But then after I do that, I can go ahead and put the villager here. And then the villager will attempt to pathfind himself, but you can also just give him kind of like a little shove, right? So here it's nighttime, so he's just kind of like, I'm going to go on this bed. And then he should be able to kind of sort himself out in terms of falling asleep. Now, that said, I don't necessarily know if I would, again, do it at nighttime, but you can kind of more easily approach it just from above and then kind of weasel them into their respective spots. I think that's easier than trying to like build this and like weasel them in afterwards. I think that's more difficult. So the way that I found the most success is just kind of going in from the top, helping them over down into that little area, and then you should be all good to go. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start building, and if I could think of anything else that's an extra note, I'll let you guys know. Okay, so here is the current status of everything. We have ourselves the collection stuff all ready to go. So everything's ready to go minus the water, I should say. But the collection stuff is ready to rock and roll. The pads are ready to rock and roll, again, with the exception of the water. Glass panes are all up to make sure the guides are in there. And then we also have our villager cells all prepped and ready to rock and roll, with the exception of their little oak slab covers, which we'll put in after we've deposited the villagers into those spots. Now, I need to get the villagers up here, and I thought we'd go ahead and record this part and kind of share it as it is. Hopefully there was like a neat little time lapse of me doing this work right there. But the idea behind doing this together is because this is the part that is typically, from my experience, the painful part. If there was ever a part where I was like, man, this is awful, I hate doing this, it's this part right here, because I have to get these villagers to cooperate with me. And if you guys know anything about villagers, they're not cooperative. I don't even know necessarily if I have the villagers that I need for this whole thing. And that seems like kind of like a major oversight. Like, what do you mean, Choco? But yeah, we may not even have the necessary villagers we need. I highly doubt we have 30 in there. So the chances are I'm going to need to go ahead and wait for them a little bit anyways. So we're going to focus on trying to get these guys kind of set up and primed so they're ready to at least be sent to wherever which way they need to be going. So let me go ahead and get the iron. I thought we had the iron down here, but we're gonna need some iron for a minecart. We need at least one minecart. Obviously, we prefer more, but one minecart is the very bare minimum of what we need. But let me go ahead and see if I can find my iron. Iron? No, iron. Iron. No. Okay, interesting. Also, if you watch the time lapse, you might have noticed there were pillagers. We had a patrol that was nearby, and originally I was gonna like record that and be like, oh, okay, we're getting patrolled, and I was gonna go take them on. And we also had a wandering trader that spawned on the platform, which is kind of funny. But like, yeah, I don't know what happened to the patrol. They just kind of like up and left. They never really did anything. They just kind of were like, okay, see you later. that was the end of that. It was not a very eventful moment, but I was just like, okay. So a little bit of a bummer on that regard. Would have been kind of cool to have a little bit of fisticuffs with them. I was going to trap them and keep them safe and sound, but also hopefully, I don't know how that works. I don't know if a patrol is there, if they if that means that like your area is protected from further ones, because that makes sense to me. Like you would want to have multiple patrols in the same area. Like I thought that made sense, but who knows? I'm not entirely sure. But let me go ahead and let's go and start this whole process. Now, this is going to be an entirely different set of rails that we're going to be needing. So I'm going to go ahead and reach to my bag of goodies here. I'm going to need a lot of powered rails. And then we're going to need a handful of like the regular rails as well. So we're going to go ahead and grab those. And I guess towards that end, I ought to probably make some more... Well, I suppose we can do some redstone torches, and that would be perfectly fine. So let me go ahead and make some redstone torches, because that shouldn't be too terribly bad. Let me do this. And then make those up. Cool. All right, very good. So we got all this ready to rock and roll. It looks pretty nice. Now I need to expand their little prisoner chamber, and I'm going to expand it this way, right? Because I want them to move a little bit closer towards their destination. But let me go ahead and just set this up. Whoop, set that up real quick. We do need to make sure that they are like not able to like escape and do like really wacky things. So we're just going to do this. And we do not want to migrate the babies. I want to specifically migrate only the adults. So that will be another important part of what we're doing here. Alrighty. And then I'm actually going to have them probably just, honestly, just drop down right here. So let's go ahead and get that done. Actually, I can, well, yeah. I'll take some of these fence gates right here. So that way we can kind of control what's going on. And then we'll just kind of situate this right there. And cool. We should be able to be on our way. This is kind of suspicious looking. this does not look like a real... This does not look like an actual plan. This is some kind of nonsense that I'm coming up with here, but we'll figure it out. Alright, so let me just go ahead and have that just kind of like veer off like that. That should be perfectly acceptable. And then we'll start having everything else rocking and rolling. That's a far journey too, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We'll go ahead, try to sleep away the dark. And then okay. Spooky rain aside. I think we're all ready to go here. Oh, I don't have the Y level anymore. All right, so actually, let me real quick Lytra up there. I just want to see what Y level that their cells are at, because this is something that I'm not. If I don't know what Y level this is at, it's gonna make my life a little bit more complicated. So I'm trying to look right at that end rod right there. It looks like I'm looking at 106. So I'm gonna write down 106 in here, and then I'm gonna try to make sure that we are flush with the 106 Y level for where the blocks that we're placing. I want them to be at 106. So let me go ahead and do this, and then I'm gonna just make a giant freaking scaffold over there, and yeah, this is gonna be the interesting part, and we'll be back once I have our little railway of doom. It's gonna be like a really fun roller coaster, sort of. Not really, not really at all, actually, but it's kind of like a roller coaster, just sketchy. So we're still working on kind of getting like the great roller coaster of doom all set up, but something interesting happened. That happened. Which means that inside of that pit, we have a lot of iron golems. Like a lot of iron golems. So if I'm gonna see if I can shove this last one in here, but let's claim some of that iron, honestly. Yeah, they seem to be up for it themselves anyways. Weird. Well, this guy I can't really do much about, but either way, how odd is that? They're entity crammed in there. Maybe I can just put in a water stream or something at the bottom? I don't know. Yeah, maybe I can just do that. Let's do that. I'm going to try to just put like a little water stream so I can get the items. So what we'll do is I'll mine out these blocks right here. Even I'm literally making an iron golem farm, so this is legitimately pointless, but like I'm just, wow, that's insane. I mean, it's like the rate is bad, right? Like, I'm not trying to be like, yeah, this is totally going to be like our new iron golem farm design. Like, it's not at all that, but it's just crazy to me that this is a thing. Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Shucks, man. All right, cool. So I'm just going to leave that there, and they're just going to, I guess, continuously collect iron. That's insane. How? Wow. The fact that there's that many of them in that little pit, that's ridiculous. That is absurd. That is truly one of the most bizarre and absurd things I've ever seen. Anyways, carrying on. All right, so the time has come, and boy, oh boy, can this end badly in such an incredible number of ways. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and let the villagers out of their initial pen. But the really big thing about all this is that even though I'm letting them out, I only want like one to ever be like out and about here. So I have 2 minecarts. Oh, and Gray, thank you for the 5-month resub. Choco, missed you. Appreciate that, fam. I missed you too. I didn't know you were away, but missed you too, man. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get this all rocking and a-rolling. And I'm going to put another fence gate there just in case, because you never really know with these kinds of things. And I'm going to go ahead and hopefully whoop. Okay, well, 2 baby villagers just kind of zoomed on out of there. I definitely don't want to waste any villagers here. So, the babies will like kind of just like be a thing regardless. Let me see. How many villagers are we talking here? Okay, that's fairly promising. I can't tell if that's like a mega stack or if that's like, I think that might be a mega stack actually. We might have more villagers than I originally thought we did. That's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and have our first inaugural trip here. So let me go ahead and just open that up just for a moment. Oh no! Oh no! 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 Too many! Too many! Too many! Too many! No! 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 Way too many! Way too many! Oh gosh! No! I need way more mine carts. We made a horrible mistake. Oh man. I should have known that was gonna happen. Oh, that's too funny. Okay. So let me go ahead. I'm going to rip up a little bit more of these. And I'm just going to make it so it's a little bit more of a set thing there. Okay, that should be pretty good. And then I'm going to try to sleep away the night, I guess, for right now. Are they trying to get back up and, like, meet up with their fellow villagers? Is that what's going on here? Interesting. Okay. It looks like they're trying to, like, get back together. Oh, this nerd. This nerd's taking my bed. Yeah, right. It's my bed, dude. No. Only I get to sleep in this bed. You understand me? Only I get to sleep here. Okay, I'm going to just put this bed over here. All right, sleep away the night. All right, very cool. So now we have a bunch of really random free roaming villagers. That's a thing. Let's see what we can get going here. I need an experimental villager. Well, it looks like we have like a pretty decent number of villagers kind of like wandering about. All right, so hopefully these guys will be interested in coming back. Although at the moment it kind of looks like they have absolutely zero intention of doing exactly that, which is unfortunate. All right, so let me go ahead and see if I can't just make a little makeshift rail system. Hey there, guys. This is not suspicious whatsoever. Don't you worry about it. Hey, listen, man. I heard that this rail system is super duper cool. And you should totally stand in the middle of that track. I don't care what the Westerns say. It's not what you think. All right? And off to the races he goes. And we're going to go right after him. And looks like it's going pretty well. So, just like we did in How to Minecraft, we're going to go ahead and just kind of make this giant rail. And we're going to go all the way across, and then we're just going to drop them off. I'm not going to worry about like ejecting them and all that stuff. So, there it goes. And I'm just going to hop out here. And I'm going to then knock out a minecart. Knock out this minecart. And it should be the case that they can't escape. I think. I don't think he can quite go anywhere messed up here. So I think that, well, maybe he can here. I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think he shouldn't be able to move from that spot. So he should be all set there. But it does seem to be working, so that's always very good. And then, of course, now I can just take this minecart and we can travel on back. It's perfect! It works brilliantly! We finally managed to beat the system. Oh, this is such a weird, messed up. Oh, it's cool though. I'm not gonna lie. It's a really big minecart system, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it for what it is. All right, let's see here. No. You don't. No. You go right back there, buddy. All right, cool. Actually, if anything, let me go ahead and put like a little stopper here. So if any of them get any strange ideas as a minecart, I can go ahead and corral them back in. But all right, so I'm going to be doing basically this for a good solid while, and I'll be back whenever we're ready to put the finishing touches on it, and kind of like, you know, say a couple of little notes about how perseverance perseveres. And all that good stuff. But anyways, we'll be back, hopefully after all the villagers are seated. I just thought I should share with you the glory of Minecraft. And actually, this is a pretty good strategy in terms of moving your villagers here. I moved the first one and always do like one test dummy, and you just send him off on his way. But then after that, send two along their way, and then they'll stack up like this, and you'll actually bounce off of the villager whenever you send your cart up. So you won't actually like do anything messed up or whatever, anything strange. Just make sure that you don't have powered rails here, because that's going to like launch you straight back. But yeah, this was pretty good. So this has been working out fairly well for us, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and kick him out of that one, kick him out of that one, and there we are. So we're now 2 cells in. We got A lot more to go. We have a lot more to do. Jeez, I never even realized how many we have, it feels like. So it's like what? We have those 2 cells here, and then we'll be done with this. Then we have another 4 of them to go over there, and then another 2 over there. Or wait, no. We have... Yeah, wait, no, yeah. 4 and then 2. Yeah, so we got a fair bit more to go. But hey, we're getting there. And also, if you're going to do it this way as well, just remember you can always get yourself up by the cart. Pretty cool stuff. And don't forget to put the trapdoors back. I almost forgot just now. All right, let me see here. So, and put the trapdoor, in my humble opinion, that way. So right there, because that's going to allow it to open up. So if you get like these like random guys like this that are just kind of being dumb, you can try to corral them back in, even though being villagers, they tend to not cooperate really, but you can still try. You can do it with some good old-fashioned willpower, some elbow grease. All right, and then just like that, you'll have yourself your own Three Stooges. Now I just have to somehow get up. All right, and then see this? We're making plays out here, huge plays. Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick little note here before I continue putting in the rest of the villagers. So you may see that I put up some glass structures here, like this whole thing over here and the glass thing over there. I actually AFK'd because I didn't have the villagers I needed in the villager breeder, because I had done a couple of things that goofed it up, but I also hadn't let it run for long enough before. So I AFK'd. I did kill everything because I like went into straight panic mode. I was like, oh no, what happened? So you may notice that... Well, actually, in my inventory, you're going to see that I have like a carrot and 2 gold ingots. You might be like, 2 gold ingots? And I didn't think about this, but I guess this makes sense. With the gold ingot, or when it comes to drown, right? Drown have a chance of dropping gold ingots, including if they're transformed, because of the fact that it doesn't really matter if it has a trident or like if it has an item in hand, it's part of their drop table. So I ended up getting some gold ingots. Pretty I don't know, I thought that was hilarious because I was not expecting that. I was like, wait, what? But yeah, a lot of zombies end up piling up in this little waterway here, so something I definitely do have to keep an eye out for in the future. We also had a couple of odds and ends and weird things happen. I did sign, like, so I quit out of Minecraft for a little bit and I came back, and then it led to a couple of villagers I think got flung out into the ether. So I have no idea what's happened here. I also did turn off some of my farms here because I didn't think that was necessary to run them for too much terribly longer. But you can tell we have some renegades. we have a couple of runaways. So I'm gonna quickly go check to see what happened, because I know I saw what looked like at least 2 of them just kind of like yeeting themselves out into the ether. So let me go ahead and head on out, and we'll see what ends up happening, and. Hopefully, if we're lucky, it's gone perfectly well. I have no idea if that's going to be too few or too many, but we'll see. And... okay. Ow. Okay, so it looks like we still need 1 more villager in here. So yeah, you can see I'm slowly making progress here. But, okay, it looks like everything is A-okay. Nothing too terribly suspicious. I'm not gonna lie, I was really afraid because I hadn't thought about this. But when I was AFKing, I had this like sinking feeling that I was like, wait a minute. While I'm AFKing, nothing prevents a zombie from going on the railway. Because like a baby zombie, for example, could easily jump into a minecart and then have himself like accidentally yeeted out, and he could have made his way into the pen on a rail cart. Oh, so many fears. But anyways, I'll continue on. Whenever hopefully we're done, we'll be back. And with this, the final villager is being moved into his cell. Truly an outstanding and important and momentous occasion for our whole thing. Now, as I go into this part, and you might be like, okay, well, I'm not entirely sure, like, once I've done this, like, don't I just put the rail and the zombie in, and, like, some roofs and stuff, and I'm good? Yes and no. And I just made an oopsie. So... Number 1, don't be an idiot like me and then just not put the trapdoor where it needs to be. So make sure you do that, otherwise they're going to escape. Number 2, another important part of this whole thing is be sure that you check your villagers when they're like finally in there. You definitely want to give them 1 check at nighttime. What this is going to do is this is going to make sure that your villagers are not bugged out. I think, for example, like some of my villagers are currently a little bit wacky, and you know, that'll happen from time to time. So you just have to make sure that you just check in on them. I think once they're good forever. But I noticed that some of my villagers aren't sleeping at night, so I'm going to go ahead, wait till night. If you see villagers that are not sleeping in beds, look at the ones that are like the beds that are empty, and then break them down and replace them. And that should mean that if you replace those beds, the villagers will then automatically be like, oh, okay, there's a new bed there, and they'll attempt to sleep in it, and it'll mark it as their bed. From time to time, you will probably need to do this just to check to make sure that everything's working a-okay. I don't know if there's a great way to automate that system to make sure like that always happens, but just every now and then check in, make sure that they are doing right. I'm going to be doing this before I move on to the next step, which is of course going to be, well, number one, I have to rip out a lot of this random railway here. I'm going to keep some of it just in case I need to move villagers around. But the next step here is going to be getting the rails down, which is like that track right there. And then I'm also going to need to get a zombie, or maybe I don't know. I might do a husk again. Husks are nice. It'll make things look a little bit cleaner as well. So I might look for a husk and like do a really arduous journey to bring a husk back home with me. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. I would hope that I can pull something off, but if not, we can just do a zombie. That's fine. The only thing you have to do with a zombie is, of course, leave like that little oak slab roof on top, which isn't a big deal. I mean, if you've done all this, then that's not the part that's going to do you in. But while I wait for this, I'm going to go ahead and put the roofs on top of the villagers. There's not really a way around that. But I will certainly also be looking to get my zombie and stuff prepared. So at this point, you're just going to want to make sure that you get yourself a name tag for your particular zombie. You can, if you want to, I find this kind of scary, so I don't do it. You can theoretically just give them an item to hold, and then they'll be like, oh, it's my item, and then they'll just kind of hold on to it. But I'm very like skeptical about that, so I'm not going to personally do it. But yeah. So, I mean, if you want to, you certainly can. There's nothing that prevents you from doing it, certainly. But that's another way to keep them going. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and set up the roofs. And I think I'll even put down... and we'll be back whenever I start putting down the tracks here. I think that's going to be the way that this all plays out. So, I'll be back. Okay, so all the villagers have been seated. And what I mean by that is I went to nighttime, checked to make sure all the villagers were ready in their beds. I did have a goofy one that was like fighting over a bed. I think it was this one over here. All I had to do was I jumped on top. I put the bed down, the new bed, and they still kind of refused to sleep. And I was like, that's weird. So what I ended up doing was I kind of like walked over the other villagers that were in bed and forced some of them up. And they kind of reshuffled beds, and then all three of them sat fine. So that was good. But yeah, everyone I confirmed was sleeping in beds. That's all fine and dandy. So that should be all good to go. I put roofs over everything. I decided not to do a husk because we've done that before. I'm going to try it with a zombie this time. And it should be exactly the same thing. But I just wanted to kind of, you know, make sure that I do it with you guys to make sure I can see if there's any problems with it or whatever. But now we're going to be putting down the rail system. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first run over every single spot that's like of a regular rail that's not part of the stop system. And then we'll look at the stop system afterwards. So let me just go ahead and run through all this real quick. And if I do it right, it should be relatively straightforward, like so. And so the reason why I'm going to do it this way is because I want to talk about this particular part as if you are interested in, so I'm going to skip this over here. But if you are interested in doing a slightly cheaper method, I do want to point out something that Nembom mentioned in one of his videos. Do I have any more powered rails? Oh yeah, I do. And it's actually a really, really like interesting idea. And I was thinking about doing it, but I kind of got spooked by it. So do it at your own peril and at your own risk. But basically with the activator, or not the activator, but like, well, I guess there's a detector rail there. Or no, it is an activator rail. Anyways, so sorry. But whenever it comes to making this even cheaper, there is a way for you to pass up on the comparators, right? So you might look at the comparators and be like, man, that's pretty expensive to be honest. You can get by without the comparators at all if you so desire by actually doing something a little bit cheeky, which is using water streams. I'm not going to do it in this particular like playthrough, but if you are interested in that, again, check out Nimbon's video. And I think towards like right before he gets into, I think his main design for this, like the one where like, this is the one I recommend. He'll talk about like, you could do it theoretically with water streams. That's the part you should pay attention to. But the reason why he likes this, and I want to just highlight because I am totally on board with his explanation for this because it makes perfect sense to me. But he basically says that he thinks that this is a slightly superior version because what ends up happening with this particular system is that because it's redstone maintained, it's really easy to put together, right? And it halts it consistently accurately, and it's not really prone to like any kind of error. It's always going to run the same way. So if there's ever anything that like goofs up with movement when it comes to water, that's not really a thing. And this is pretty precise. Every now and then I can imagine that the water might do something goofy, but these rails cannot do anything strange like that because as the cart goes through, like I had shown you guys before, this is going to end up going through here. So it's going to run up here. I think it goes up this way. It's going to hit the activator rail or whatever. I guess, is it a detector rail? It might be a detector rail. I don't remember which one it is. It's a detector rail. All right, so it's going to hit that. It's going to cause a pulse to go through, and it's going to freeze up the cart on the way down, so it spooks all the guys, and then it's going to go about its merry business. So it's really, really important that you got the timing right, because that's the reason why this is like a very superior farm compared to many other farms that are out there. So again, mad ups to Nembon. I mean, the guy's a freaking nutter, and he has made a lot of farms I'm really enjoying. So definitely check out his video and see if you want to try to skim off a little bit of the cost there. Maybe you want to try out the water thing and report back how it works. Let us know. Leave it in the comment section down below and let me know about like how it's going and stuff, because I am curious about it, because it would save you quite a bit of money, and there's nothing that says that you can't like put that together first and then keep on moving on. Also, if you happen to know, because I don't know the answer to this question, but if you happen to know whether or not you can replace the end rods with a different kind of item, also let us know in the comment section down below too, because that could be something that's potentially helpful. I feel like what you could do here is these end rods could be replaced with just any kind of block that would be good in terms of like it's not spawn friendly. That sounds kind of goofy, but I would imagine you're going to have to do something to make sure that the golems can't spawn up there. I think that's the main reason why they're used. But I want to say that you could do some stuff with trapdoors, and then you just have to add some kind of lighting source somewhere. So maybe like a lantern or something, but I think that's the way that would work. But anyways, let's go ahead and get to the last part of this whole thing. And then, oh, actually, wait, no, okay. I have to be right back again because I forgot we never put in the water sources. Oh my goodness, I completely blanked. Yeah, we need to put in water sources, and I need an item collection system because I don't have either of those things. I just kind of like went full steam. Oh my word. Yeah, we'll be back. All the water is put in, and we are just about ready to rock and roll here. However, there's gonna be one additional task, which is to launch our zombie. So we have to capture a zombie and then move him in a minecart all the way up here, and then once that's done, it needs to launch him onto that rail over there. I think this will work. I cannot promise it will work, but I have pretty high hopes. So chat came up with the idea of zombait. It was between zombait and zombie, but I figured bait made more sense in terms of like the logic of how it works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to use this villager that was originally just going to be like left to the wolves, but we're going to use this villager right here and turn him into a zombie villager, and we're gonna have a zombie villager scare the villagers. I feel like that's like poetically like good, right? Like that's like a good solid way about it. So we're gonna go look for a zombie, let the zombie punch the zombie villager. Maybe I'll try to like hold on to a zombie in a minecart if I can, but I'm not gonna really stress about that. Actually, I don't even think I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and just like let this play out however it needs to, and then we're gonna go ahead and name this one zombait after it's changed. And then I'm going to try to move him all the way over at nighttime, drop him on top of that, and hopefully that will all work out great. I really hope that I haven't like forgotten something super important, because that would be really, really bad. But I'm going to need to go ahead and debate a zombie boy. Oh, actually, I don't mind. I'm not going to say no to some creeper farm. Hey, what's up? Okay. And then just slowly chipping away, making my mark on the world. Hey-o. Okay. And we have a customer. Very nice. And so now all I got to do... Oh, wait, but he's going to always aggro on me until I vanish from sight. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can't bamboozle him. I don't know if he's going to know that I'm here behind the glass. But he should hit that villager right there. Are the rails confusing him? I think they did. We'll get wrecked. All right, so he should go ahead and bang up that villager. There it goes. Now on hard mode, and I would imagine hardcore mode by extension, this should be 100% conversion rate, right? So I'm gonna let this guy, there he goes. Very cool. Then let me, I mean, I guess if I can easily do this, then it's whatever. So hold on, let me name you Zombate first. Okay, I guess the zombie is trying to help us out here a little bit, which is kind of weird. Okay, cool. I mean, yeah, sure. All right, so we now have a spare boy in our midst. And let's go see if I can skip ahead of our guy right here. All right, so here he comes. We're hoping that he drops onto that railway, and that will be great. It worked! Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And there's our first iron golem of the lot. Excellent. All right, cool. I don't know if another iron golem appeared over there. I mean, who knows? So I think that might be a little bit out of my render distance or something, but okay. And there's another iron golem right there. They're only spawning ones, weirdly enough, but let's see here. Spooky spook. Okay, there's a 2. Okay, cool. So that seems to be working. So we have ourselves our working iron golem farm. That's awesome. Okay, that's really cool. So a couple of like closing notes here before we wrap up the episode. I would strongly recommend that while you're doing this, that you go ahead and you put this like upper level minecart system up here. It just will help you move a lot of things into the right position. This saved me a lot of time. The one thing I would have done a little bit differently is I would have actually put this maybe a little bit higher up. The reason why I would have put this a little bit higher up than what it was right now is because of the fact that, you know, instead of moving only like 2 at a time, I could move maybe 3 if I built it like maybe 2 higher. So take whatever block your trap doors are at and go up 2 blocks higher than that. That should be sufficient for you to have a shot of squeezing in all of the ones that you need, which is pretty darn cool. Outside of that, it's the only other thing of advice I can give you is just make sure I would do the water last. I think that the water last was a pretty good call, so it didn't really mess with my movement at all. Shulker box is definitely very helpful, so that's another big thing that you would want to keep an eye out for. But other than that, it's really just a question of just being patient, slowly building. I do think that putting down the base platform and then building upwards is kind of the right way about doing this, but you could certainly do it another way if you'd like. And yeah, I mean, it's a relatively straightforward build. It's just a question of how patient you are, because it is a lot of just patiently building and then moving villagers up. I think villager cramming by default's at 30. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I think it is. If it does end up being the case that it is at 30, then I would also probably say it makes sense for you to probably take the time to go ahead and let your villagers cram until 30. And then as soon as you start noticing that your villagers start dying because there's too many of them packed in one block, at that point, go ahead and switch things up and have them kind of do some other things in terms of, at that point, you can start making your villagers move around, or you can stop your breeder and stuff like that. But I think that would be perfectly fine. So, cool. All right, so let me go ahead and do one last test because obviously now that we have all this ready to rock and roll, we have ourselves all the iron we could ever potentially really want for one player. Let me go ahead and make a hopper, and we're just going to do a really basic thing here. Can you do this yet? Is this a thing? No. Let me see. Can I produce? I can. All right, so let me go ahead and make another chest worth, and we're just going to put like a baby collection system up so I can at least start collecting iron. But the important thing about this collection system, more so than anything else, is that I'm going to be putting this up for the explicit reason of I want to see if this works if I leave this chunk, right? That's the whole point. The point of having built this in the spawn chunks was that the idea is if I do it this way, I should be able to go ahead and kind of let myself go do other things, and this will still work. So that's the hope and that's the dream. But let me see here. So I'm going to go ahead and I actually do need to build this up a little bit more. So let me go ahead and just scaffold up a little bit more here using slabs because I'm a peasant. All right, something like that maybe. Okay, very cool. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put a little chesty boy down there. Little hopper boy on top of there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and let that iron flow. Like, look at the amount of iron I already have. Good grief. That's absurd. All right, let me go ahead and turn off all this like really crazy like colors and stuff from Lightmatica so we can see a little bit more clearly what's going on. Let's go ahead and wipe all this out. Okay, one more. Okay, very cool. And then, if I am correct, so first off, well, I'm too short. I can't reach anything, man. This is how it feels to be short. I don't like it. All right, let's go ahead. All right, so let me go ahead and pull from here. Well, actually, let's not bother pulling because this is going to just be a mess if I try to start pulling now. Is the hopper backed up? Oh, wow, the hopper's backed up. Okay, let me pull you all out then as best I can. Okay, cool. Shoot, I don't know. All right, we'll throw some minecarts away, I guess. All right, so that's basically empty. I'm going to go ahead and walk like far away from here. And I'm going to see, I think spawn chunks would stay loaded even if I'm in a different dimension, right? So let me go into the nether real quick. And we're just going to go ahead, cut. I'm going to wait like maybe like several minutes or so. So I have a pretty good chance of knowing like whether or not it worked. And hopefully this will work right now. So what I'm hoping to come back to is like, I mean, I'll give it like 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. Maybe a little bit longer than that. Maybe I'll give it like 5 minutes or so. I'll wait 5 minutes. We'll be back. And we're going to see if the spawn chunk thing worked. If it did work, I should see like probably like over a stack. And then like I should see that there was like a generous amount of items brought to me. So if that is great and if everything works out fine, then I should hopefully be able to see the effect of that. Hopefully. So fingers crossed. So I'll be back in about 5 minutes and hopefully we'll have some great things to report. It's been a little over 5 minutes, so let's see. Let's see if the spawn chunks paid out. I don't know if they still run if I'm in the nether. Hopefully they do, though. Okay, that's always promising. We had iron golems that were, like, already falling. That's a very, very good sign. Let me quickly go hop over here, sleep away the night so I don't get a little RKO'd. Okay, so I would expect to see over a stack of iron here. That's what I would expect. I would expect at least a stack. Okay. So I would say it probably was running. I mean, I think that's pretty good. Actually, right? So for about 5 minutes or so, like a little over 5 minutes, we got a decent chunk of iron. So yeah, that's not bad at all. 5 minutes for a stack of iron, no matter where I am in like the game, that's pretty good. So yeah, awesome. Okay, spawn chunks are awesome. I mean, we'll see over time whether it pans out. I'll really know for sure after like, you know, I'm away and I'm doing something else in like the end or something. But either way, that's pretty cool. That's actually pretty dope. I'm pretty pleased about that. So that's pretty cool. All right. Well, anyways, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching. Get close. Stay a while and listen. All right. But anyways, thank you all very much for watching this episode of Choco's World. If you did enjoy, it really does help me out if you leave a comment down below and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, notification bell if you'd like to be notified. And I'll see you guys next time for hopefully a storage system. I know, a storage system this early on in the series. I can't believe it either, but it should be pretty darn cool. Other than that, we got some other farms like ahead of ourselves. I'm going to need gunpowder. There's no way around it. I'm going to need gunpowder at some point. I'm going to need slime. I'm going to need, well, I don't really need gold, but I would like to have gold. So that's all going to be in the works for something in future Choco's problems, but not current Choco's problems. Current Choco is not going to worry about this right now. But anyways, hopefully this was worth the wait. Hopefully this was something that was exciting for you all, and hopefully you all are really enjoying this series. I know I am. I think this is pretty darn cool. But anyways, I will see you all later. And as always, and most importantly, take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful and safe day. And until next time, ciao for now.